Hello, good afternoon. It's about close to 2 p.m. in the UK. So it's one of the random times for me with the stitching. I do what I can. Whenever I can squeeze in a session, I try to do it. Otherwise, before you know it, it's end of the day again and without stitching. So today, this piece I'm stitching, I've been working on it for a little while. So let me show you the mock-up here. So this piece is called Granny's Craft Room. It's so whimsical. I absolutely love it. And so what I've done with this piece is I've started, let me just bring it out slightly. So if you can see it here, oh, let me just remove that. You see this little kitty here? Oh, it's so lovely. It's a sleeping little kitten. And here's a little crystal ball here. So let me bring up the full markup. So it's the center part of it. As you can see, there's a little cat sleeping on top of the shelf, the window pane. So I've started from the center, which is a little bit unusual for me, but I couldn't wait to get to the kitties. And so in my impatience, I started from the middle. And I'm doing one page at a time. So I've done, let me show you here. I'm using markup RXP or RPX. I can never get it right. It's a tracking app. Some might not be that familiar with it. Most people know Pattern Keeper, but this one you can use it on both Android and iOS as well. So this is a scanned in. This was originally a print pattern, and I scanned the pattern in, and the program, the app, kind of translated, converted into a interactive chart for me. So let me show you my progress here. So let me see if I can bring this up. So this page, this whole piece, it's not massive, but it's also not small, as you can see. So this is the dimension of the whole piece here. And I've completed 2 pages here. And that's where the little cat is. Okay, so I've completed the 2 pages. I'm really happy about it. And now I'm just kind of randomly select the direction to go. And I've decided to go downwards from the left. So following the page on the left, I'm stitching down. So this is where I am right now. And I'm doing 1 page at a time. And I've started a little bit from the upper left corner there. And I'm going to slowly work my way down diagonally. So the method of choice for me today would be, it's what I call Emma method. So there's this lovely lady called Emma Stitches. Her YouTube channel is absolutely lovely. And this is, I think she pioneered this way of stitching, kind of edging from the main part, the stitch area, and going diagonally. So you can see I've got my diagonal line displayed here. So I'm trying to follow her method as much as I can and stitch diagonal downwards. It's a lovely way to stitch. So, and with parking as well. So, and today obviously I'm starting from 0. Let's have a look. And we can check again with my progress at the end of the session. So I'm starting from 0 here. And I can't wait. Let's start. There's always a sense of, how do I describe it? Happiness every time I'm starting a new session, even though it's the piece I've already worked on. But it feels new. It's a new start. And I'm going to do a few warm-up stitches, so bear with me. The first few stitches, they're normally clumsy and sometimes mistakes, full of mistakes. But it will start to flow after a while. So let me bring up the little markup here on the right here and zoom in a little bit. So you can see that I've got quite a few part thread as well. And also the drink of choice today is my little cup of coffee here, black coffee, freshly brewed. Oh, so good. Here we go. And I hope you're having a lovely day as well, wherever you are, whatever time it is. I think if you're in America, it's still pretty early in the morning. And if you're in Europe, you're in the same time zone as me. I'm in London. I'm in the UK. So, and so this is kind of a rest day for me. I normally, most days I teach yoga and various other things. You see, this is what I call a warm-up stitch, because to start off, I'm already looking at the wrong location on my chart there. The stitch is fine. I'm just looking at the wrong location of the chart. I brought up the wrong color there. Good. It will flow a little bit more. I'm optimistic. So, and of course, this is 14 counts. As you can see, these stitches are nice and big, and it's a nice change from 25 counts, which I do most of the time. And I like the variations. So I'm trying my best to follow the diagonal line, but this is not a stitching method that has got really strict and clean diagonal lines. I can't do those. I get nervous and I feel really restricted. So I need a method that allows me to wander off from time to time and improvise from time to time. So I'm drawn to this method here. Let me just bring that down a little bit. I definitely recommend Emma Stitches, the channel. She pioneered this method, but she's kind of evolving a little bit. Now she's got a new, well, not a new method. It's kind of the 2.0 method called Color Flow. I think it's a beautiful name. What it is that the principle doesn't change. You don't have the floating stitches where you have to go back and fill and, stitching this way. Every stitch is kind of nice and open. You don't get stitches kind of cornered with other stitches, and you stitch right in the middle, so it feels really tight. That's kind of a beauty of this method. But now she's evolved a little bit. She allows herself to wander off, not floating stitches, but following the color. That's why she's calling the method Color Flow. I think it's quite apt. Let me just check that I haven't strayed and stitched in the wrong area. Okay, so I've done a pin stitch there, 2, and this thread, it's getting quite short. So I'll probably do a little bit of color flow if it's appropriate. You know, when there's a whole block of the same colors, then you just allow the stitches to kind of go to that area first, rather than a strict, really strict diagonal line. But I'll see how it goes. This is such a beautiful piece. It's so whimsical. And all the pieces, if you look on the sort of pieces I've been working on, at least on this channel, you probably noticed that a lot of rooms and pieces that kind of just full of stuff. I really love that. It fills me with joy. You know, there's some pieces that are absolutely beautiful, landscape, etc. But you have to deal with like acres of sky or the oceans or trees. I just can't do those. I know it will end up being a beautiful piece, but I just can't. I need constant changes. 1, 2, 3 here. Good. And I need those kind of mini reward and milestones when you get sort of images emerging underneath, like this little this little cat here sleeping. It fills me with joy. Because even though you know it's a long way away from finishing the piece, but you have some sort of completion as you go, and I really need those. I really need the kind of mental reward along the way. So here is this piece. Have I got the right thread? Yes. Let me come in a little bit more. And the floss here I'm using, they come with a kit. And if I haven't mentioned already, this is actually a kit, a cross-stitching kit I bought a few years back, maybe not that long away. I think it was during pandemic. It was during lockdown, maybe 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago. So the floss comes with a kit, and the patterns were in paper form, and I managed to convert it into a digital form because I'm really anxious using paper, because I just think I'm gonna lose a paper or spill coffee on it and I'll never be able to complete the piece ever. So I always do a digital scan with a phone. Nowadays, very, very easy. Let me just do one more stitch, see if I can squeeze in with a really short piece here. And yeah, so I managed to scan those pieces quite carefully, so they kind of uniform. And I was just waiting for the right app to come along to be able to do something like this, because when I first scanned the digital images, I use them as, I just open them up like a PDF and try to use highlighter within the PDF tools and just mark them manually. And I did that for a while with a few other sort of stitching kits, paper-based stitching kits I've got. Let me have another sip of coffee. Oh, so good. And but I wasn't aware of this tool markup, RXP, I think. And when I discovered it, I mean, by all means, it's not, probably in terms of user experience, it's not as good as Pattern Keeper. It's pretty clumsy to use sometimes. But when it comes to scanning and, you know, put together scan images like patterns, it's pretty powerful. So I'm happy with it. I'm using it. But I'm also anticipating them to improve the user experience a little bit more. It's not as polished or sleek as Pattern Keeper. So, but you know, I'm just happy that they're, well, I wouldn't say competitors, but similar apps in this realm, in this area, the stitching area. Competition is good. Healthy competition means they will try to improve to win over the users. Oh, these stitches are so nice to stitch. Oh, there's a bit sticking out there. Push it down. It's really beautiful. So over there, let me mark it. So now it's roughly diagonal. And that's pretty much the way it's going to go. It's not going to be a clean line ever, I don't think. Okay, so there's one stitch there. Let's zoom out a little bit. But this one has got two different colors combined together, which you don't get with Heaven and Earth design. It's always single color. These two. It's very, very subtle. Look very similar. Here we go, just one stitch here. That's a lot of work to produce one stitch, but it's the way it goes. And just snip this bit off so it's uniform. So these pieces, this particular kit and a couple of other similar, I think they're from the same company. They do 14 count, full coverage, not massive pieces, but fairly large. And the color, in terms of the color changes, or the color numbers. I think this kit has got about 45 or 50 colors. I can't remember, somewhere there. So we're not talking about the regular heaven and earth. I think regular pieces, even mini, probably have, I don't know, 90 colors, something like that. Regular ones, minis might have a little bit less, but most of them probably have way over 50, most of them. But with these ones, you can still see very nice color changes, so gradients and stuff like that. It's really pretty. It doesn't look sort of crude or anything. So it's just one stitch here. Good. Let me pop it back for later use. And really pretty colors. So with this method of stitching, I think the fun for me is the fact that, first of all, you're edging from the edges. You're moving away from the edges, so you don't end up with sort of stitches. You have to come back and look for them, and sometimes one stitch here, one stitch there, which is what happened with my previous page. When I stitched the page above, I decided to go for cross country within the page, and it was fun. It was really fast, but I ended up having to go back and fill in the sort of blank stitches everywhere, and it took me ages. Probably I kind of lost motivation to do it. So with this page in the new start, I decided to go for this method. So I'm not going to end up with, you know, tons of loose stitches I have to go back and find. Sometimes you're in the mood for that, but not, you know, I like to change around. Maybe I'll go back to that at some point because cross country is just so fast. Okay, so here, I've got this one here. So every stitch is kind of revealing what's underneath, gradually, kind of rolling out like a carpet, which is quite an elegant way of stitching, I think. And to be honest, I haven't seen anyone else, at least on YouTube, stitch this way other than Gemma. So I feel very honored to kind of adapt a method on my channel. So all credit for her. And she can do it so fast as well. Because for me, generally, if I stitch in this method, it's a little bit slower. Not bad, but a little bit slower because you have to really think about where to move next, like a chess game that you play. It makes it fun, but you know, you could slow down a little bit. But if you notice my channel name, speed stitching is not my thing. You know, I'm happy to be nice and slow as long as it's enjoyable. So here we go. 402. So the floss that comes with the kit, it's compatible with DMC, but the texture of the floss, the thread, I'll say it's pretty nice to stitch, but it's not as silky as DMC, which is fine by me because, you know, again, it's variety of the the floss that keeps things interesting. So the slight downside, I would say, with this floss is that sometimes it snags probably a little bit more frequently than DMC. DMC is very silky, very smooth. It's very well made floss. And these are pretty nice as well, just different texture. If you get used to it, then the snagging will happen a little bit less frequently because you know how to handle it. The colors are quite nice, no problem there. A bit tight there. So it's always a constant kind of decision on where you take your thread. So I'm trying to follow the diagonal line as much as I can. Oops. I think the time you choose to stitch provides a very different experience in terms of because a lot of times I stitch late at night or early morning rather, and there's a sense of calmness that you have when you do kind of after midnight stitching. Everybody's asleep, and you feel like you're doing something a little bit secretive, but that's the fun of it. But when you're stitching like now in the afternoon, it feels very different. Because I look out the window, I can see it's really sunny today, which is lovely. And I can see my patio. I can see movements out there with birds and squirrels, my local squirrels, my best friends. And it's a very different kind of atmosphere. And the lighting is different as well. That does make a difference for me. 3822. And with a colorful piece like this, even within such a small area that I'm stitching in, the color variation is, you don't know what the next color is going to be, and that's so much fun. Sometimes you stitch like a ceiling or a sky or whatever, you have kind of different shades of the same color, variation of certain color. And then there's some areas you just constantly changing from yellow to brown to red to green. I love it. So I have no idea who actually charted these pieces, but There's 14 count kits, but I really love them. Here we go. That's lovely. And I'm going to move it down here. Here we go. And these 14 count kits, they also have something unique. They have back stitches. So I've got all the stitch areas here will have back stitches like outlined that I'll apply later. I'll probably do a special back stitching party. It's worth party. Whereas Heaven and Earth, I'm not aware of any piece they've got back stitching. And I think back stitching can be very pretty and very fun to do. But you can't really do it on 25 counts. That wouldn't work very well. But with larger stitches like this, you would just give really nice definition to all the objects. It's going to be lovely. I can't wait. Zoom in a little bit more. You can see the sunlight coming from the outside. Little cupcake there. See where to go next. Okay. Oh, you can tell I'm thinking where I should move next. Oops, hang on. Here we go. 3, 3, 2, 8. Oh, I've got one already threaded. So I pretty much stopped using symbols and just stick with colors. So I tend to have an entire book of threads, like organizer, with all the colors, and I just use the same organizer for compatible pieces. Like all these 14 counts, they share the same floss, basically. They're from the same company, so I just combine all the floss that come with a kit and organize my thread, my floss that way. So I don't have to constantly switch different sort of organizer for each kit, which I used to do. It was pretty messy. I think it's fine if you have like 1 or 2 pieces, and that's not a problem. But when you when you have like a lot, you know, of different projects ongoing at the same time, switching like organizers and managing them become quite tedious. So so I just totally move away from symbols and just stick with numbers. It's much simpler. Okay. Here we go over there. Just zoom out a little bit. And this way of stitching is meditation, I think. It's meditation. Here we go. Oops. So this method requires a lot of threading. So you have to be okay with that. I don't mind threading at all. I think people see it as kind of a bit of a chore. But actually, if you kind of just have a good method to thread your needles, it's pretty quick. So I've got 1 stitch here, 310. Just 1 stitch here, a lone stitch. Whenever I can, I use loop starch. But obviously, if you cut off a piece, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Okay. Oh, I'm going to take it down here. It's quite far away, but I'm going to do it. 1, 2, 3. It's quite far away. Here we go, at the bottom. Maybe up a little bit. April 4. So parking is like a little bit like gardening. Not that I garden at all. I don't have green fingers. But it's like you planting seeds and allow it to sort of be there and wait for you to water it. That's a terrible analogy. I apologize. That's the best I can come up with in this Tuesday afternoon. But it feels a little bit like that because it's like you have this plan and you have these areas that you have these threads waiting for you. You know, nothing's random. It might look chaotic if you're not used to parking, but everything's there for a reason. The organized chaos. I like that. It's a little bit like my space. It's organized chaos. I know where everything is. Well, it's kind of. I can't possibly say that. I spend a lot of my time looking for things, for sure. But let me have a look. And I say my excuse is my mom was a bit like that as well. You know, she was more of a bit like me, kind of macro person rather than micro person. So we look at big pictures. If you want to talk about nitty-gritty like numbers and super detailed stuff, my brain starts to get fuzzy. But if you want to talk to me about big pictures, outlines, you have my attention. So I'm terrible when it comes to numbers. But, you know, I have a pretty good sense of what a big picture is. You know, I know stories. I can tell you stories. But I can't give you all the details. And when I teach yoga, you know, if you've been to any kind of yoga classes or any kind of classes, the instructors, the teachers might mirror your movement, right? If you do any kind of dance or yoga, and some teachers can do that really well. They will go raise the left arm up, but they're raising their own right arm. Stuff like that. And as a student in the class, you don't always notice that. You kind of take it for granted. But I'll confess, my confession is I can't do that. I can't mirror. Okay. And so when I started teaching, I thought, oh my God, they're going to think I'm just a terrible teacher because, you know, I'm going to doing the same side as them while facing them, which means I look opposite. But luckily, after I started teaching, I realized it's actually not a big deal because most of the times you want them to listen to you rather than just look at you. And most people can work out that you're not mirroring, so they just, you know, do the other side. If they listen to, you know, if you tell them to do something on the left, they'll do it. So the demonstration still works well. So I haven't got any problems with my students. And no complaints so far. So very lucky. Lucky escape. Imagine if you had to mirror in order to teach. I have to do something else. So, and I remember talking to my yoga teachers when I do training courses and talk to teachers that I respected, and I asked them, how do I learn to mirror? And most of them just go, well, just practice, then you can do it. And I practice, I couldn't. I just get very confused and I get distracted. And I forget the sequences, that's not a good thing. Until I spoke to one teacher and he told me something. He said, it's the brain, we're made differently. We're made differently, as simple as that. He says, don't force it. Some brains just does not interpret certain things. It's not anything wrong. We're made differently. And that put me at ease tremendously. Coming from a teacher, he's probably seeing all sorts of problems from students learning to become teachers. And he just kind of go, well, no big deal. Just do what you do. And to be honest, I haven't had problems. Very occasionally, I have to remind students, well, I'm not mirroring. I'm doing the same side as you. So listen to my cue. And that's it. That's it. That solves the problem. So sometimes you just need a very wise person to highlight things. And suddenly everything makes sense. So I'm very, very grateful. Very, very grateful. Right, look, this one. This is a popular color. Quite a few stitches in this color. Nice orange. And to be honest, now I've got my muck-up there as a reference, but almost as a habit, I don't look at muck-ups that frequently. If I stitch, normally, privately, without having a screen there, because I like surprises. So obviously, I know I have a general idea in terms of the images or pictures I'm stitching, but I want to kind of leave the details out. So when I complete a certain area, it's kind of a surprise to find out what's underneath. So that's part of the fun as well. So you probably see the pattern emerging. I get bored easily and I need constant changes and stimulations. So that kind of reflects on the way I stitch as well. So I only started this channel not very long ago, and I think I did one session without talking. I just thought, well, maybe we can do some sort of meditative, no talking sessions. Man, that was hard. I just have this habit of kind of talking through what I'm doing, and I had to kind of restrain myself physically with a facial mask. No, I didn't, but literally stop myself just stop from talking, because that is just how I do it most of the times. Even if I'm stitching with myself, there will be kind of inner chatter going on that I kind of talk through certain things I'm doing there. Maybe not in so many words, but there will be sort of inner illustration, the kind of inner dialogue going on there. And I did one session of that. I go, well, maybe some other time. Maybe I'll do that some other time. But for now, let me let me say my piece. Let me talk, please. So one stitch here, and good. I'm going to end this one here because there's no nearby stitches, and I'm going to do a pin stitch. It's not my favorite thing to do, pin stitches, because I've seen pieces that do have a lot of pin stitches. They just end up with a lot of kind of pimple like stitches around. That's not very nice to look at, but it doesn't happen very frequently with this way of stitching, so I don't mind it from time to time doing it. Otherwise I'll just tuck the end thread inside of other stitches. I might do that as well. 3047, I'm going to put it back and tuck this one in, and you'll be waiting for me. Here you go. I'm not doing too badly with the diagonal lines so far, because sometimes you start to, form all sorts of weird shapes, which is nothing wrong with it. Oh, hang on. I do... Okay. I'm returning to the same color because there's another area that requires this color. So I'm back to this cream yellow. Right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to anchor a pin stitch here. Sometimes I do if I'm trying to avoid taking my thread over stitch area. Like now I'm trying to move my thread over here. If I take it directly from this stitch over here, I'm going to have a floating thread underneath. And that's my kind of one of the things I do not like doing. So sometimes I just anchor a pin stitch away from the stitch area and then bring the thread back, if that makes sense. We all have our little, pet hates when it comes to stitching. Some people don't mind it, having floating thread behind stitch area everywhere. Whereas me, I get hyperventilated. I start to breathe heavily because I really don't like the idea of having floating thread everywhere. Good. me take a sip of my coffee here. Black coffee is the best. The best. No. So I wanted to come on yesterday for a session, and I realized my broadband was down. It was a scheduled maintenance, but I didn't know until I was about to set up to do a stream, and so I couldn't. And in my mind, I was kind of thinking, oh dear, things you take for granted, internet connection, until you don't have it, and suddenly there's so many things you can't do. I had to tether from my phone to get the mobile data so I could do something online on my computer. And it just dawned on me how much we rely on internet connection. So imagine if it's ever just come down for whatever reason, the whole world will stop, really, literally. You can't do online banking. You can't buy anything, where people buy things online. And you can't, I don't know, do anything. And that's pretty scary if you think about it. The fact you can hear me right now is because there's internet connection. Otherwise, we probably would have never ever come across each other. So that's one thing that kind of got me thinking. Because people talk about, if the internet kind of just stop working, then what will happen? So intellectually, you kind of think about it, but you don't really know, really. You just hope, it never happened. But even simple things like maintenance for my broadband servers kind of just got me a little bit nervous. The fact that I was deprived from internet for a few hours actually got me, that has impact on the things I wanted to do, was able to do. So I keep our fingers crossed. And imagine going through the last few years in a lockdown without internet connection. Can you imagine? How do we manage with the shoppings and information as well? How do you even find out what's going on? It's just something that we don't consciously think about because we have no solution. I don't know what a solution is. So it's pretty taxing to think about. $402. And this way of stitching, what I find really, really attractive is the fact that because you're so focused on the kind of a chess moves, you know, where to take your thread next, what colors, and continue to maintain that diagonal line, working towards that. Before you know it, you can see the images emerging from underneath. And it's just a nice surprise to see, oh my god, there's a little bird underneath, and I've just stitched without knowing, because you look at it in such a micro level, one stitch at a time, and then before you know it, you've stitched something. You have that mini completion underneath, which is quite nice. Just turn this, stabilize my frame. Oh, such a lovely way to stitch. Thank you, Emma. Not Emma, Gemma. Gemma. Thank you, Gemma. She's such a lovely lady as well. I've been watching her for years. And she does monthly updates. And she's got patience of a saint, for sure. She's able to concentrate on pretty much a single piece at a time. She's got a couple of others going on, but nothing too crazy. And she just focuses on one piece until it's completion. You can see it because she captures that on her channel. Whereas I go everywhere. I move around different pieces, different counts. She does mostly 14 counts. I think it's by choice. Oh my god! Oh my goodness! Oh, my Siri on my iPad just started talking. It's so scary. Oh my god, scare the living daylight out of me. Jeez. Apple, your technology is scary. And I don't know what he said. He said something. I think it thought I said something. I was asking anything. It doesn't make sense, because I thought the whole point is you have to trigger it by saying, hey Siri. Oh, I need to stop saying it. See, it came up. But sometimes you just come to life without you giving it the command. That's terrifying. And that reminds me, yesterday, because I've got ChatGPT app on my phone. And yesterday, I rarely use it. Sometimes I use it for a laugh, to create like some silly pictures or to ask some questions. But yesterday, I accidentally opened it, and it had already had a question supposedly typed in by me, which I didn't. And then the AI provided an answer. I try to remember what it was. It wasn't anything meaningful. I think, hang on, let me just, I think I stitched it in a, I think it's correct. Hang on. Let me just get this marked first before I lose my way. Yeah, I don't know who typed that in. No one else has access to my phone. And when I looked at it, it had a question and it had an answer. It was just so weird. I think I think my ChatGPT was trying to break out, trying to communicate with me, even though I didn't understand what it was saying. It was very, very strange. And the troubling thing is, because it's so easy to create images through ChatGPT, you see that everywhere. So some people have more advanced version, meaning they can create videos and, everything looks so convincing. You just don't know what you're looking at anymore, whether it's real or not. That's that's a little bit troubling. You just can't trust your eyes anymore. Not that our eyesight are reliable necessarily, but that's how we operate every day. We're trying to follow what we see to make our decisions on what we do. And at least those images remain for now on devices. So at least we look at devices we know is not in our physical space. Imagine if we start to transition to our physical space. And so you look at something, but it could be some hologram or something that's projected by something else, AI or whatnot. What do? We just don't know what's going on anymore. Maybe some technology will have to be invented to see through, to identify what is real, what is not. But then, if you're being philosophical, then what is real, right? What is real? Some might think that this world is an illusion, ultimately. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But anything is possible. So maybe eyesight are deceiving after all, because it gives us a false sense of reality, perhaps. Who knows? What is real? And I think you think about questions like that, particularly if you have lost someone you love, perhaps. I have. And one moment they're there, and the next moment they're not. And it's very hard to process, and knowing what that means. But the love you feel for them is real. You know it's real. You can feel it because it hurts, right? Feeling's real. So what does it all mean? You can't just disappear, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Up a little bit. So I do think that if you can feel something, that's the only indication that is something's real. Because it's, the physical world, who knows? Maybe we're looking at illusions. But if you can feel it, that feeling is real. Love is real. So this corner is probably a good example of color flow method versus just pure diagonal, because here I'm pretty much following the color because it's got a big block of the same color. So instead of fighting it and part the thread and maintain that diagonal line here, you just allow the color to flow through. That's a beautiful way of stitching. Thank you, Gemma, once again. I love that lady. So I tend to, 14 count I think is perfect for this method. But I tried it on higher count fabrics, like 25 counts or anything that's above 22. It doesn't work as well for some reason, probably because the stitches are so small with a single thread. It just doesn't flow for me with this method. So I kind of reserve this stitching method for larger stitches. So I'm one of those people that if I know there's a stitching method out there, I have to try it. I just have to try it. So the couple of things I tried in the past, I know is kind of not for me. One I can think of is Royal Roll. I think it's invented by I believe it's a British lady. This is named after her surname. But for some reason, I just don't enjoy stitching that way. Because it requires a lot of kind of taking threads everywhere. Because if you're, I don't know whether you're familiar with it at all, you're basically stitching 2 blocks at a time vertically. So you have, these 2 blocks, and you can move from any direction, but most people probably go from upper left to the right, and you do 2 blocks at a time. You fill in the colors. Most people do color, so 1 color at a time. So you do color completion within the 2 blocks, and then 1 color at a time, and then you part to the right. It's kind of okay in theory, but for me, what happens is as you move as you fill in the colors, eventually you're gonna start come across colors. You have to take your thread all the way down, or all the way, maybe not up, but you have to bring the thread over a lot of stitch area, and that for me is a no-no. I can't do it. I don't like to take threads over stitch area, so I kind of tried it and then just decided that wasn't for me. But I tried, you know, I enjoy trying new methods, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Try something else. Let's have a look. So this part is filling a little bit, it's creating this corner area. So I'm going to come in here and start putting stitches here. So there's a lone stitch over here. 3750. Here we go. It's nice navy blue. I'm just grateful that I discovered full coverage stitching, because prior to maybe 3 years ago, before I discovered this type of projects, I did quite a bit of some various things, including cross stitching, samplers, maybe smaller pieces. I tend to buy cross stitching kits and enjoy that as part of whatever, all sorts of other things I do. I knit as well. I just love making things. And I used to do a little bit of felting. I went through a phase of felting. Don't know whether you've tried. It's lovely. You can make all sorts of things. But since I discovered full coverage stitching, I kind of just fell into the rabbit hole and not able to get out for for a few years now. Probably about three years, over 3 years now. I've tried to do a bit of knitting. I've got a blanket going on there. It's been going on for over a year now. I haven't finished it. I just want to come back to projects like this over and over again. I don't know why that is. It's so attractive. 3750. I think it's probably because, stitching this kind of project is so beyond just putting stitches on the canvas. Is the whole organization of it. I love watching how people organize their threads, and how they go about their different approaches on how they stitch. There's so much more involved, and it's a reflection of a person's personality, and it's so interesting. It's so interesting, and there's no right or wrong ways of doing it. And because the projects tend to be so big, and it takes so long to do, people have to be very. People need to have a kind of strategies. So it's not something that you just dive in and get it done. You need to have a plan. And that makes it so much more involved and so much more interesting. You know, I've got projects going on, they're so large. I'm pretty sure I would never finish it. I'm okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. So I'm going to take this thread over. Maybe I'll end it. Yes, I think I'll end this thread here. And this time I'm going to just tuck it under another stitch, which is my preferred method because you can't see anything. I only do pin stitches when I kind of have no choice, when there's nowhere good to tuck the stitch in. Lovely. 3822. And the evolution of my thread organizer is just I can write a novel about it and how much I learn from others. It's so inspiring. Over here, 302, 402, sorry, 402. So I've got a vague idea what I'm stitching in terms of this area. But I try not to focus on that too much. Okay. Maybe I missed something here. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Here we go. One, two, three, four, five, six. Just do one leg at a time with these ones. Two, three, four, five, six. I'm going to park it here. So 2 from here. So this area's got a little bit more confetti. It's not too bad. It's not sort of heaven and earth max color bad. But there's quite a lot of color changes here. I think the best feature, one of the best features for sort of stitching apps like Pattern Keepers and this one as well, Markup, is the search function, isn't it? The one tap, all the same colors, the symbols come up. That used to take a lot of scanning with the eyes, and still make mistakes a lot, because it's so useful, because methods like this requires for you to have that visual plan of where the colors are flowing. So you decide where to take your thread, and if you're not able to see that kind of quite clearly, then it's a little bit much harder to do. Not a little bit, but much harder. Whereas, with one tap, you just have all the same color highlighted, and you can make decision on where you want to go next. How wonderful. That's the beauty of technology. I mean, with AI, it's a little bit freaky, when AI kind of just type things by itself and answer the question by itself. That's a bit freaky. But other than that, it's all good with me. Move down here. So peaceful. And when it comes to teaching, for instance, teaching yoga, it takes energy, not so much physical energy, because yes, it can be demanding, but my body's used to practicing yoga, but it takes a different kind of energy to teach, because you are you're creating a space for the students to be there to practice with you and to be there fully present at that moment. And you have to be fully present as well. So it's not a job that you do. I don't see it as a job. It's kind of how do I call it? I don't want to call it calling because it sounds really pompous now, but it's something that I have to do. It's not a job. Job is something that you do to provide a function. Jobs is not a bad thing. It's you provide an important service function. But I think teaching, if you talk to yoga teachers, no one needs to teach. No, not really. We'll have options to other things. But one has to teach because it's... I have no explanation. I often think about it. Why do I want to teach? I don't know. I think I know, but that answer is embedded in my body rather than in my brain. And I'll leave it like that. I'm okay not to have answers, as long as I know what I need to do. But I was referring to the kind of energy you need to provide. It can be, it can take a lot out of you. I mean, at least for me. I don't know other teachers. I don't know how they actually feel about it. But you're giving something. You're exchanging something. A different kind of energy with the students. And if you overdo it, you could, it could be, I don't know, it could be maybe too much. It's a, you just have to pace yourself and not overdo it. It's not something that you can charge through and kind of just, use brute force, because with any kind of job, sometimes you can push through. Maybe some jobs need to do overtime, and so kind of put more time in. I would say, at least my own experience, yoga is not something that you could do that. You'll pay a price if you do that. And I think particularly when you are new to teaching, if you're just started, people tend to go a little bit overboard because they don't know where their limits are just yet. And you learn from her mistakes, pretty much. That's a very good lesson. I learned that as well. I know that if I go beyond what I have in terms of my capacity, there's a price to pay. And very often it's not a physical price. It's a mental one. Right, I think I'm going to end this one as well. It's getting kind of short. I'm going to do a pin stitch here. Let me see my progress. Okay, let me just show you quickly. So, I think I started about an hour and a half ago, something like that. Let me just quickly look at about over 90 minutes or something like that. And I've done just over 100 stitches, which is not bad with this method. And it's very relaxing to do. I'll do a few more if I call it a day today. I'm really happy with this way of stitching. It just hits the spot for today. Let's have a look. Because my patterns are scanned in from paper pattern, the conversion is not 100% accurate sometimes in terms of the symbols and colors. Not so much as not accurate. Sometimes there are spaces not being picked up. So you kind of miss stitches sometimes, even if you highlight the symbols. Might be some not getting picked up. So I have to be kind of careful manually, sort of scan it as well with my eyes, so that I don't end up with having to start and kind of end up with loose stitches, which is one of the challenges when you scan patterns in. Move it up there. And I'm going to plant another thread here. 3822. Lovely yellow. Oh, hang on. To one leg first. Because I'm going to take the thread to the left, so I often do this if I have to change direction with the thread. Go down. Tease that bit down. Right, last few stitches here. I'm going to wrap up today's session and take a break. Good. I'm going to bring this down here and pocket. Lovely. So this will be my progress today. Let's have another look here. Okay, so the final total. Let me just zoom it out a little bit. Move this away. Let's have a look. So 118 today in about an hour and a half. It's very handy. And my completion so far is 7.87%. Yeah, a little bit to go, only a little bit. And I'm totally cool with it. I really enjoyed it. And so thank you for your company today, as usual. And this is a lovely piece here. Look at this. It's so pretty. So I'm in this area here, this little wooden box below the kitty here. So I'm really looking forward to it. And it looks like there will be quite a lot of this yellow brown color and variations of that color of brown happening there. So I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for joining me today. And I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.